I guess we can make some quick intro, like Quintra, and just I start from the problem and explain what we plan to do today and what the topic, and then we just start talk about this question. I have the problem in general in sales, how to use AI. And usually monthly in Austin, we try to do some monthly events in person, but also we understand that a lot of people, which we know them, and they ask it about like what you do, what your experience, and we decided to invite the expert and Arnold and make this like friendly conversation without decks, without different like fluff theory etc, just talking about like questions. And I prepared 7 questions, and I guess it will be great when we start talking about all these 7 questions from different perspectives, from my sales background, knowledge base, and maybe again Arnold can share his vision for this, like dean of AI from Texas A&M, like again maybe some theory stuff, but also from commercial experience, because Arnold knows a lot about how enterprise use it, and I guess Arnold can talk about this a little bit later. So let's start, and maybe Quintra sounds like Arnold. What you're the number one problem which you try to solve with AI, and what you see here in AI sales perspective?
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me here, first off. Just for a quick introduction for everybody that doesn't know me, my name is Arnold Castro. I'm currently the Assistant Dean of AI for Mace Business School at Texas A&M. Been in this role for about 16 or so months. I come from industry, though. I was a Chief Data and Technology Officer for a company called Manufacturing Analytics, or MFG Analytic. Um, we focused on the manufacturing world, building applications with artificial intelligence or analytics. And we were consultants in the AI space slash analytics space. We help different companies, integrate it and stuff like that. So I've been in the world of, innovation for a very long time. Tech in general, various industries, anywhere from NASA to, Wells Fargo to even unfortunately Enron, which I don't even put on my resume. But but yeah, so I've been in tech, heavy in it. Right now, I at A&M, we are trying to bring AI into the academic world, right? Anywhere from these, how are the students going to use it? What should they be preparing for as they start, preparing to enter the workforce? Um, so to answer your question in terms of what is the number one thing that we should be looking for, I mean, it's the soft skills right now, because as much as anybody will say I'm an AI expert, really nobody truly is an AI expert. Even the big companies don't even know where AI is headed. We're all trying to figure it out because that world is evolving daily. We have an idea of where we should be focusing on, but what we do know for a fact is that the human side of us needs to be the most important part for the AI side, right? For AI to work properly. We as humans need to be evaluating the output and making sure that it makes sense, because as we have all seen, AI is very, very convincing. And a lot of the time it could be wrong. And if it's something as simple as, hey, what's in this recipe as I'm cooking, and gives you something wrong, cool, no harm done, hopefully. But if it's a business decision you're trying to make and it gives you the wrong answer and you trust it could be pretty catastrophic. So you got to be very, very careful with it. But yeah, um, again, happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you. And again, let me call you expert, because we promised for all the guests that we'll have like minimum one. So, so
Yeah.
I guess I can call you like that. And maybe I just add for my problem that we have like maybe 2 of them. We have AI startup, and this is one huge problem. You need to build something on the so crowd market and understand how it's like differentiated from other big players, so like old players. And the second one, it's maybe the hard to live in this maybe crowd space when you just anytime when you open LinkedIn, uh, Twitter, like X, and you see that it looks like in your bubble that everyone use and build Jarvis, and it works excellent for everyone, but not for you, and you just have this like scary things. Oh, maybe I missed something. Maybe I just like to pick the wrong way. Maybe I used the wrong tech stack. Maybe something else. So how to hard to be in the line and understand that you like okay, so you control these. So maybe we can talk about these two topics also, and let's maybe go to the first my question. And again, guys, if you have any question, please bring them on the chat. And in the end of the call, we'll have like 15 minutes minimum to talk about them and dive deeper for what you're interested in this problem. And first, my question about models, because maybe models and about the difference, because right now we can find some teams who say that so number one trend it's outcomes. They everyone say that we need to use AI for outcomes to see the value, to bring this value, ROI, something else. But we see the two different options. Some teams have and can get this ROI or again value, in some companies not. And so what the big difference today in general, why someone's have Claude, Gemini, and just talk with them about, I don't know, like what happened today or how I can send this email. But in other people, just build something excellent and use it in another way.
Yeah. So if you think about it, we all have access to the same tools, right? Let it
Right.
be, for example, ChatGPT. Your ChatGPT is identical to mine, Claude, Gemini, etc. Um, the tool is not the answer, right? Because the results will look the same if we all put in the same input. Obviously, not exactly the same, because if we all ask the same question, you're going to get slightly different answers, but we all sound alike. And that's one of the things you see in LinkedIn right now is, we ask it to rewrite for you, for example, before you make a post. We all sound the same, but that's not the differentiator, right? It's all about the context that you give it, more about who you are. What problem are you trying to solve with AI? Because as you're getting all these different tools out there, it's about the process, the data that you're trying to focus on, because each model has its strengths and weakness. That's going to dictate which should you use. You shouldn't be picking one, assuming that it's going to solve all your problems. A lot of organizations out there are coming in and saying, okay, well, our board has said we need to be an AI ready company. And they adopt, I don't know, ChatGPT. And they're like, okay, we're done. It's like, no, that didn't solve anything. Right. And that's where you need to start figuring out what is the problem you're trying to solve and how
Yeah.
are you going to solve it, right? Because a lot of the time you don't need um, maybe a model. It could be some simple automation that could do some of that. It could be a simple algorithm, or sometimes, a lot of the times actually, it ends up being a tool that already exists that can get you 99% of the way there without you having to focus on the back end of stuff, trying to figure out how do we do this. What I've encountered in a lot of organizations is that I'll bring a solution, I'll give it to them. And most of the time, you'll have the IT team saying, okay, this is fantastic, but how do we support this in the future? Because we don't have the capability in house. So that
Yeah.
becomes a problem, not trying to hire somebody, right? So yeah, it's not about the models that you're picking. It's what problem are you trying to solve that's going to dictate where should you go, what should you use to try to solve that business problem.
Maybe I can just add for the last two point that I guess everyone saw the post that, oh, I build a new app and replace our HubSpot for weekend, and we have this excellent tool and I bring for my team. But the problem here, it's not like how you build it, but how you can support and like keep this product in real time. Because like you mentioned, they don't have the maybe technical team to support this tool and growth and fix, and this is the biggest problem. So it's much easier to build, but it's still hard to keep this tool in life. So totally agree here. And from my perspective, it looks like the first problem, like you say, that you try to use AI, and maybe it can be enough just automation, but maybe it can be enough just to use some tool like CRM, because some companies, they say we want to use AI, but they don't have CRM, they just use Google spreadsheet on something else. And like we will talk about like data in general and maybe tech stack, but this is the first option. When you start use AI without zero structure, you have like zero results also, because you just, it's like a chat, just only chat. And maybe second one is context, and when we talk about like context, I mean maybe two options. First, it's cool when you can maybe prepare some documents before, so just like solve docs, some playbooks, some instruction, what like instruction and flows, what you plan to do with this AI. And second one, it's connect with current tech stack, like MCP connection, API connection. Maybe in simple way, just connect your Google Drive or I don't know OneDrive to your Gemini and see these write docs, like write trust docs in the chat, and this can be like crucial difference, and everyone just prompt what they want. So agree with this, and maybe we can go to the next one. And next, my question about data. So again, if we talk about prompt engineering and this chat using, the big problem which I see that if you don't have CRM, you don't have data, maybe you can bring some Google spreadsheet like Excels and just work with these. But if you have, usually it's disaster because it's dirty data. You cannot use it. You cannot connect your ChatGPT to HubSpot or Salesforce and just ask, oh, what I need to do, what's my problem, how I can increase my revenue in twice, because again, it's bad data. And this is, I think, one of the biggest problem right now for companies who have this data. So you need to clean it first. So what you think the maybe biggest, maybe the most important suggestion for the companies who have the data, how to prepare this data for AI using?
Yeah, so it's interesting that everybody obsesses over prompt engineering, but honestly, it's the last mile that you're gonna tap into, right? The data is the road. Right now, a lot of folks believe that they have like perfect data. Most of the time, ends up not being so perfect, but more importantly, it ends up being very siloed. Most organizations have it all over the place, siloed, not and in sometimes multiple versions in different places, right? So one of the first things that I always ask a lot of my former clients is like, hey, let's create one source of the truth, because that is the most important piece to create that. Um, and bringing in tools to kind of tie it all together. We're not asking them to get rid of your ERP or your CRM or anything like that. But you need to be focused on creating that one source of the truth so you can actually do BI and then AI. Because as you mentioned earlier, right, bad data or garbage in, garbage out, right,
Yeah.
is one of the things that we keep seeing. But in the world of agentic AI, garbage in will scale to become massive garbage out, because that simple little bitty mistake that could have been caught early on is going to keep growing and growing as the automation starts happening, right? And it could be a very bad thing in the end. So it becomes very important for you to be able to see what's happening with your data as it's being ingested through AI, not having a black box per se, right? Being able to see what's happening behind the scenes to be able to catch those things. And that's where the human side again becomes very important, to be able to keep tabs on, uh, what's happening. But yeah, data is the most extremely important part of any AI project for it to work properly.
So, but again, in general, if we just again, I think any other case can be a little bit different, and it depends what they want, what's the problem with data. But You think how it's better to start? Just make the clean copy and start from this level, or just maybe start from um like end information, like just from conversation, like transcription, different diverse emails, and use these data first, and don't use like the maybe machine data which they built with CRM, Power BI, etc.
Oh, no, 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 no. Again, go back to the very first thing I said, right? Um, you're trying to solve a business problem, right? And that's number one thing. You shouldn't start worrying about the data at the beginning, other than focus, zero in on what is that business problem you're trying to solve. Once you figure out what that business problem is, you got to do some process mapping. You're going to be breaking down that process where this problem lies and figuring out every moving piece from beginning to end of what that process entails. You're going to find out where each of the tables of this data resides. You're going to find out where the human in the loop is currently. It's typically in the whole process nowadays. But also, there could be already some automation happening within there. But more importantly, you're going to see in what shape that data is as you start looking into it. So that's going to be step number one. It's not going to be like looking at your emails or looking at your calls, or what is the problem you're trying to solve, right? And that's going to dictate where you're going to dig into. Once you have that piece done, then you can start kind of looking at access to the data, figuring out, is it in the best shape that it could be? Do I need to do some transformations for it? And then kind of just adding in within that process mapping, where does automation fit? Where does AI fit? Where does the human need to be in each of these parts of the process, as you rebuild the process to now be AI enabled? And what ends up happening in the end is that process is now nearly, hopefully, very automated, with AI doing some of the reasoning potentially. Uh, but the person, the human, now has to go through a mental model change, right? Because that process is no longer what it used to be. Now, what the human has to do is most of the time completely different, because all the mundane tasks that you used to do, AI is doing or automation is doing, and you're focusing on what the important piece is within that process, really what you were hired to do, right? Because a lot of us get hired to do a specific job, but we end up doing so much mundane stuff that we hate doing because it's what we need to do in order to do our job. But if AI could be taking care of it, we can actually focus on what matters to do our job. So,
All
yeah.
right. Let's maybe bring some example here. Maybe it's help us to make the thing. Uh, for example, keep the boring problem, like estimate and proposal. For example, I'm a sales guy. I like to talk with customers, but I need to prepare like 10, 20 proposals every week. And for that, I need to do some math, read my previous templates, some rules, etc. So, can I pick the maybe it's like excellent or cool examples from my previous work for proposals. Bring some prompt, general prompt, what rules for the offer in general, maybe some mess Google spreadsheet with different numbers, how we calculate and estimate it, and bring everything in one place. For example, like ChatGPT or Claude Chat, maybe makes the skill that read these first, then connect these three transcription from the previous call, and helps me to fill the new proposal for the customer. So in this case, like if I understand you correct, you propose don't use whole data, but bring data or keep data or big data for the problem, which can help you to fix it. So it's correct, or can you like?
You need all the data from the process you're trying to fix, right? So if it's a sales, for example, problem that we're trying to fix, we're trying to assist the sales staff to be able to do more. Um, well, what is it that the sales folks are looking at as they're talking to a customer, right? What information is in front of them? What, as they're being asked different questions on the phone, what is going to make their life easier to do their job? And that's where you need to bring all those data sources into the equation. So as they're talking, it's like having all these assistants around you listening to the same call and popping out information in front of you to assist you to get, do your job better. It becomes very important at that point for a human to actually be human at that point, right? Instead of be searching for different things and taking their time accessing something or saying, hey, I'll get back to you, that information is just popping up left and right in front of you. And you can actually hopefully do a better job of being a human to the other human, as opposed to delaying some stuff or maybe getting aggravated because you're not able to find something, and things like that. So yeah, so everything becomes very important in terms of what are the past conversations I've had with this human before. Like you said earlier, accessing the emails, accessing past calls, accessing any data related to that customer, any data that can help make you the sale, right? And other clients of mine, for example, they want access to some of the product that they already have, what's in stock, what's in not, without them having to key in anything. As they're talking about it, things could be popping up, right? Because we're able to do transcription pretty quickly now through AI,
Yes.
to the point that it could be listening and bringing stuff on your screen as you're talking. It's pretty impressive stuff that we can do today, but not many people are taking advantage of it.
All right. Because again, you need to implement this, and it's easier maybe for just like solo business, but it's hard if you have like sales team, like 10 or 20 or 100 of them. But yeah, I got it. Thank you. I guess we can talk about maybe resume here and go to the next problem. But
Mhm.
here is it, we can use data for some personal experience and try to add right maybe context for the chat. And it's much better than just good prompt, and train yourself that it can help me make my life easier or not, my work easier, and it helps me to close the deals in the sales case.
Mhm.
But after that, when everyone start talking and playing with chats, some maybe like C-level guy in the company go to the team and say, guys, we need to build agents. I heard on the conference that this company have 100 agents, this company has 1,000 agents. We have 0 agents. Let's build 10 agents next week. And in some reason, mostly all these experiments failed. So my question, why? And what do you think about this challenge to build autonomy engines for sales in general?
Some of these, the example I gave earlier, that requires some agents, right? Agents are very simple to build nowadays, um, but good agents are not, right? Anybody can build an agent in today's world, and honestly, you have different frameworks to go about it. But when you look at what it is you're trying to do from a sales side, you want to get something more specialized, something that is able to track those things that has been proven already. For example, even your platform is very specialized in sales. It knows what to look for. You are in sales, you've been using it yourself, right, for your company. um, right now, a lot of companies, you're exactly right, that they'll come in and say, hey, there's all these different companies out there saying that they're using all these agents. How do we get them going? Hey, we have ChatGPT. We can get some agents going there. Or, we have Claude and we can use co-work and so on and so forth. Even OpenClaw, NemoClaw, etc. Um, yes, if you have somebody with good knowledge, you can actually build some pretty nice stuff. But again, where's the pinch point from the sales side? What is the problem you're trying to solve? One of the things that I found actually tackling that problem in sales has been that the minute that you bring AI into the equation and you start mentioning agents, the sales staff gets a little spooked. They think they're being replaced, right? And it's makes me a little sad, and also makes me giggle a little, because I've seen some guys like look at me, that they ran into me at a party. It was like a block party that I went to, and they saw me, and I remember this guy's eyes just getting big and saying, "You're the AI guy that was at my company. You're trying to replace me." And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm not here to replace anybody. I'm here to empower people, right? I'm here to
That
give
probably
you
just
time
you
back.
not, but maybe his boss, yes. So,
Well,
no.
no, no, the boss is not trying, because keep in mind that this specific person in this case ended
Yeah,
up being their top salesperson in the whole company, right?
yeah.
And how do you, because the boss had pulled me in to say, how do you replicate this person? How do you find out what they're doing good and try to take that to the rest of the folks, right? Because every sales team, they have their superstar, sometimes a few of them, and everybody else is lagging behind. Well, how do you bring everybody to the same level? There's science behind that, that you need to be able to capture what's making them different. What you end up finding most of the time ends up being the human side, right? That the human side is what makes them be the differentiator. If they can focus on the human side by taking a lot of the, mundane stuff away from them to be able to focus on that, it makes it even better. In some cases, it ends up being something as simple as, hey, my clients love it when I take them golfing. Fantastic. Now, well, how will we know that? That now, maybe from the company perspective, we need to hire a few more golfers as opposed to whatever they do on their spare time, right? And again, that human side ends up being a big, big, big thing as you're trying to figure out what's working for your team and what's not. But you need to be able to identify that. And it doesn't come out as easy as, hey, let's have an interview or powwow, because a lot of these salespeople are going to feel like, hey, that's my secret sauce. I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing to make these sales. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, and that will be my last question about like skills and human side. But I agree that usually it's scary for the teams for reason first, like it's replaced me, and second, it's very safety to be non-transparent in the company if you talk about like head of sales or like sales manager, and also for the sales guy too, because if you know some numbers about me, you can show me, and again, it depends, are you bad or good guy? So like big sister or big brother, yeah. So because if you're like a bad guy, probably you want to replace me because you hate like salespeople. You don't like them. You don't want to control them. You know that it's like non. Uh, it's hard managing people, and so you need to probably replay them. And maybe it can be right way for some companies. And I know these companies who just truly want to replace those people and tried it to us different evolution side. But second problem that if you just don't want to be transparent, because again, if you see my numbers, you can say me, oh well, you have twice less result than our best guy, and he play golf. You don't play golf. You need to do something, and you start pushing me in other way. And I don't like critic. Maybe nobody don't like critic. And this case, it's like the critic, and if it's like bad critic, and you like a boss cannot do this in the right way, this can be again the problem. And some people try to keep some secrets and hide different like maybe details of the sales process. Just talk with you about like this is my quota, this is like my numbers on the pipeline, and what I talk with them, I don't want to show you. And it's like again, totally agree with the problem. But also, if you talk about maybe and finish this maybe problem with salespeople, that if we try to maybe to measure the best guy, we forgot to measure the losers in the team to understand what they did wrong. Because again, in Big Sister we use idea and analogy from sport. And if you like just start playing soccer, nobody just say, "Oh, Ronaldo every day do this, so you need to do this too, and you will be like good guy and best player." It's not it's not work like that. You need to do and maybe grow some skills. You need to grow some maybe habits, some discipline before you start thinking like a Ronaldo or someone else. in the team. That's why I just say that you need to have this like structure and start from structure and some maybe knowledge base first. Like this is the base skills, yeah, for example, and then you can go and maybe make some differentiate with other salespeople. But again, if we return for the agents, I just share my approach, like quick approach, and you just give me your feedback. What do you think about this? So for me, building agents, it's like you need to delegate fully transparent process. And first, it's like the same like you delegate it for your human assistant or like human colleague in the team. So you just say you need to do this, this is the success maybe like for what you need to do, this like maybe steps which you need to do, this is the deadline, something else, this is the rules, and usually people don't delegate this with process fully. It sounds like I need to have some experience guy, and I just want to ask do this, and I don't care what happened after that. And this is the biggest problem with agents because we cannot do the same with agents. Say, oh, you are the smartest AI, help me to find 10 customers tomorrow. And probably this agent cannot give you success results. So what we do, we just make some prompt and test it manually. Then try to use personal AI agent like chat, for example, and Claude, and try to understand it can helps me or not, like Cowork or Claude. And when it works, I can make the skill, maybe test for the whole team, and then we can build this like a prompt or like a flow agent on some area. So just this is the process. So we don't start from uh, prompting flow in n8n, for example, because it's not make sense. We don't understand how it works and how we can do this. So what do you think about in general about this approach? And maybe you have some
No,
additional
that's a good
suggestions.
approach. But I would say that the key thing here is your soft skills that you really need to keep in touch with, right? Especially critical thinking. You need to be questioning everything. Is this correct? Because one of the
Okay.
things that we've learned over the, this what last 4 or so years since Gen AI became a big hit has been, everything seems very convincingly correct. And a lot of us take it for granted. And you need to be questioning that. Right now, what becomes very important is, again, those soft skills, how you communicate, but more importantly, the domain knowledge that you have. To give you a good example, I I code. I use AI to help me code. It's sped me up dramatically today, right? It still makes mistakes. You need to be able to see what it did and understand code for you to become a really good AI user using AI, right? For coding. Um, but if I didn't know how to code and it did a mistake and I ran it and it ran, but it was doing the wrong whatever it is that I'm trying to make it do, but it still ran without any errors, I would assume that it's correct, right? Because it didn't fail. Same logic applies for any AI that's helping you in business in general, any agent. You're giving it instructions, you're giving it all this context, but you still need to be able to question it. And you need to still have that human in the loop in there somewhere to be able to, again, vet
Yes.
it, right? To make sure that this is true, this is legit. Um, but yeah, agents honestly are going to keep growing. They're going to be becoming more and more powerful. Right now, that's actually what I'm focusing quite a bit on is the agentic side. And that's actually my class, Introduction to Agentic AI. Right now, we're going to be focusing on using OpenClaw and NemoClaw to allow these students to create these agents to help them in their studies, to become their assistants in learning, their second brain in a way, right? But one of the cool things in sales that we're doing at the university that I want to quickly mention is we partnered with Dell Technologies and NVIDIA. And one of the things that we did there is we created this avatar, right? So imagine it's like chatbot. Imagine having like ChatGPT, but specializing it in this case in sale and adding an avatar on top of it. So now the agent or this AI looks like you or I, like we're sitting right
Mhm.
here in front of each other in Zoom. It can look just like you, behave like you, talk like you, even with our accents. Um, but then it's AI underneath it, right? And the idea here is that we're trying to allow the students to practice sales with AI. And you can, gauge the AI to say, hey, I want this to be specific type of sale, and this is the specifics that you want in that specific use case. But right now, if you think about from a sales institute, for example, for us, is very limited in terms of how many professors or people you have to practice with. It's people dependent, right? So that's the constraint that you have. Well, with AI now, you're able to allow these students to practice 24/7. And when they're ready for a human, to book it and be able to go and, you know, play with a human in this case and simulate the sales. But what's cool about it is that with this AI, as it's practicing sales, it's able to look at your, how you're talking to it, be able to grade you on different things, including if you're looking at it or looking away as you're talking to it. Me being Latino, I move my hands a lot. Well, maybe it's a good thing or bad thing, depending on where I am, right? But it's able to give feedback, and you can ask for help, and another avatar will show up and kind of coach you on what you're doing wrong. How should you have approached that question? Even through negotiations, how should you be doing that? To me, that's a game changer because it's allowing, again, students to practice this and sharpen it even further
Right.
without the constraint of booking a human to be able to practice that. Because sometimes some people are a little shy. They don't want people to see how weak they are in something. AI kind of kills that, right? It's like now with AI, nobody really knows. It's just me and the computer, and I'm practicing. So to me, that's going to be a big hit at the university for those that are interested in the world of sales to practice, because it becomes very, very important for you to kind of gauge where your weaknesses are to kind of get better at it.
Uh, okay, let's maybe move to the question, which very close to what you just explained right now. It's like a skills, because again, if AI replace some part of our current life and efficiency in sales, if you again talk about like sales process, can be crucial with AI because we can prompt and prepare any flow and do this like 100% excellent. So what skills you think still be relevant, and maybe what skills, like new skills, salespeople must have for like for the future? Like you mentioned golf, but maybe it's something else.
Yeah, no, again, it's the soft skills, right? It's problem solving, um, critical thinking, those things that are going to really make you be successful in the world of AI. Because today, I mean, most coders don't code anymore typing, right? Most coders are coding by talking.
Right.
And that's where we are today. And that's where a lot of these different versions of the positions that we're used to in an organization like HR, accounting, finance. That's what we're moving to. It's going to be more about talking than it is to number crunching or hitting the keyboard and mouse, right? Because it's going to be like having an assistant there 24/7 with you, listening to your every word. Um, but it becomes very important to again have that problem solving and critical thinking, but also communication, right? The context, how you frame your question becomes extremely important. To give you an example, my kids, I have twins, boy girl. They're 8, but my son specifically, he loves to talk to AI before he goes to bed. That's his little ritual, right? But there's two things that he loves to listen and talk to it about is number one is space, and he will ask 1,000 different questions about space. And then the other one, for some weird reason, is natural disasters. I don't understand that one, but whatever. It is what it is. But in the case of space, right, he's learned, in both of them, he's learned how to properly ask the question and how to keep digging into it, because that is almost an art in itself nowadays, right? Because he wants to keep digging into it and tell me more about this, or can you explain to me this? Like, I'm 8, right? And he knows at his age, he's able to now explain those complex things, let it be quantum mechanics or other things, in a way that he's able to understand. To the point now that I am the dumb one sitting at the dinner table and he's talking to me about space because he's well versed in it. Um, that's pretty, to
Yeah.
me, important to see how an 8-year-old has learned how to harness the power of AI without cheating himself because he's curious. He just keeps digging into that curiosity, into those subject matters, right? But that becomes, to me, that's actually been my superpower. I have two masters and a bachelor's. I don't have a PhD, but I always say that I have a PhD in curiosity because that's what's kept me at the edge of tech my whole career.
Yeah.
I always been living at the edge because I was curious about how is this new technology going to change the workforce? How is it going to change my job? And so on and so forth. And there's a lot of money I've invested in a lot of crap that ended up just failing, which is okay. I have all these graveyards of tools everywhere, but it's also made me the person I am today to put me at where the position I'm in today, right? Because I kept playing with it and digging into it, figuring out, okay, why is this the way it is? How can I make it better? Um, and that's what I keep telling everybody is like, just find a way to spark that curiosity in you to really enhance your position right now, regardless of where you are. Let it be you're in sales, HR, or even in the shop floor somewhere. How can AI help you? Play with it, ask it. AI is one of those few tools that will tell you how to use it itself, right? It'll tell you, hey, this is how it could be used in your role, and so on and so forth. And it'll tell you how, you can ask it any question, it's going to be able to answer. So, yeah, those are the three skills I would say are the most important.
Cool. I have the same with questions because discovery and option again. It depends for customers, but also for the process or company in general. How to fix this, how to do something else, and I have the rule for myself which I use, and I just share this with my friends that the best prompt is the question. So when you ask AI how to do that, it's better than you just start from flow which you recommend. So totally agree with questions, and I guess it's option which give them maybe not just information and right data, but also maybe second point which I want to highlight here. It's trust building, because sales it's about trust. Trust it's like a product, so you need to build trust connection with customer because they buy not because like some maybe logical things. It's more about emotions, about like I trust you or not, and you need to build this. And questions again, the number one option here. When you start trust me more when you tell more about yourself or about your company, me, and I must ask you about this. And maybe the last point in general for the skills which I recommend to grow them, because it's not like you cannot prompt or you cannot write this skill or just like rule and use like notes on your laptop. You just need to train this because and it's not like I recommend for someone else. I try to keep this in mind and train myself to don't forget this, because again, in code it's easy, in ChatGPT it's easy. You just make the skill and it start to use it right now. But for people, we need to spend weeks or months to start do something like 60% or 70%. Cool. So I guess Lucy want to interrupt me and talk about the questions, but I have one question
Yeah.
which feeds with question which I saw in the chat. So I see the chat in chat. We have a question about tools, about like tech stack. So what better use? What the standard for tools in sales for improve AI experience from your perspective? Must have.
Must have. I mean, LinkedIn to
Mhm.
me is one of the must top of the list, right? That's for business in general. Um, Obviously, emails. If you use Slack, Teams, anything like that, where your team is kind of talking about anything related to the sales strategy or anything like that, I would say connect those as well. Your CRM, like, let it be Salesforce or whatever it is that you're using, bringing it in. But the VoIP side, right? For telephone, becomes one of the most extremely important things, because that's typically one that many companies don't know how to properly tap into, because a lot of sales folks are using their cell phones and they're out there, making calls as they're on the road or wherever they are, as opposed to using some type of tool or some app within their phone that's going to be able to transcribe all that information, because that's data that it could be leveraged to not only rank you and help you, but also for the company to be able to do stuff with. Um, but yes, I would connect all those forms of communication that you have with the customer, as well as within your team, and figuring out, what is the strategy you're trying to go for? Is it going to be to, again, maybe build some agents to give you more time to focus on the human side of going out there with the customer and actually being there in person to be a human? So all this, back office sales stuff can be done by your agents as you're doing living life per se. But it just depends on what it is that you're trying to tackle from that perspective. But yes, connect them, let it be MCP, API, whatever it is that you're trying to do, um, into one unified place where AI can be, your agents can help you.
Oh yeah, it sounds like our approach for Big Sister again, because we just say, guys, first you need to record data, then connect the data with again AI, or maybe in some knowledge base, and work with this data. Okay, so we have another question about personal devices.
Mhm. Yeah.
So if we are on our personal device, how can we create an OpenClaw agent to help us automate while still protecting our personal data privacy? Yeah, it's maybe a security, privacy, and OpenClaw. It's the huge problem, not just only for private tools. So what do you think in general, yeah, about this?
Yeah, for personal devices, like I said, the example I gave earlier, right? All these sales folks are using their personal phones. A quick and easy win on that world is using something like Teams, right? If you have a voice over IP service on Teams, you can actually, you know, record that information that you're having. Now, I do have to mention that some states require you to say that, hey, I'm recording this conversation. You can't just hiddenly do it. Depends on the state that you're at. But I would say that, hey, that is one way to do it. Right now, I'm trying to copy this link for you guys that I'm going to post on chat. So one of my good friends, his name is Brew. He is part of the OpenClaw team working with Microsoft, specifically with Teams. So that's his Discord. He loves people going in there and asking um, any questions related to how do you do this with OpenClaw. And I put that link there so you can go in there and ask him specifically that, because he has access to the OpenClaw folks and access to the Microsoft folks. And although there's no playbook right now to do some of those things, he's going to be able to kind of guide you in the right direction. I'm typically in that Discord as well, helping folks. Um, but again, that's an easy way that you can start figuring out how to connect your OpenClaw to be able to access some of that information. And again, it's only when you use Teams to make the calls that information is going to be recorded. So if you're not using it, you're using your phone itself to just make a call to your family or friends, that's not being recorded. You're going to be protected from that perspective.
Yeah, so probably for this problem, usually we recommend to separate and isolate like communication, personal communication, and work communication, and if it's possible to use another way, like you mentioned, Teams, but again, it can be like 1,000 different tools which can give you the option to call for your customers with separate phone number. Again, it's very helpful on the weekends when you don't receive any like calls from your customers, or like any other problems. So we recommend it separate. But again, if you use it on your personal phone, you can connect these maybe different tools to record, and just maybe question how you to build another flow and where you grab this data. Because like you mentioned, in some states, if you talk about US, this can be the, maybe it's not a problem, but the challenge. Like California, Florida, they ask you to be more careful with data. But again, you can record your side because it's your call. So it's allowed by law to record, but it depends what do you do next. Because if you public this call in some way, this can be the problem. But if you keep it in like your tool, just like for you, this can be okay. It's why again, it's some different roles, some different tools. It's possible to build for maybe any case, but I recommend to use work stuff, and not personal phones, because it's something can happen.
Yeah, to
Uh,
give you guys
yeah.
a quick glimpse real fast on how voice can help automate a lot. A good example is my doctor. Okay. My doctor, when I go in for my yearly checkup, even if I go anytime to them, he nowadays comes in and asks me, hey, is it okay if I record our conversation? And I always say yes. So what's happening with my doctor, the reason he's asking that is he has a little device that is always recording, and he's sitting there asking me different questions. I'm telling him what my problems are. It's like, oh man, my knee hurts and whatever it is, right? And he's checking me, the usual checks, right? Checking my heartbeat, checking my, looking under my mouth, my ears. And but he's talking and sometimes talks to himself while he's doing it. He's saying, oh, hey, he has a temperature of, 96.5 and blah, 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 blah. Um, but by the time he's done asking me all these questions and asking what hurts or whatever the problem may be, he's like, okay, anything else I should know? And I'm like, nah, man, I'm good. And he says, all right. And he looks at his computer and all his documentation is filled out. AI has just filled all his forms out. It even has suggested prescriptions that he's going to be giving me that he just needs to browse over and say, yep, 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 or maybe change that one, right? But he's done all the hard work for him. That's massive if you think about all the paperwork that they have to do. It's even worse for nurses, right? Nurses spend 70% of their time doing paperwork and 30% being a human to the patient. And we
Yes.
wish as patients that they were more human to us more of the time. So now AI is able to help that. Well, same is happening with any role related to any kind of communication happening, specifically with phones, right? How can we automate all that back office as much as possible? So hopefully you guys, hopefully that gives you a glimpse into some productivity gains that you guys could do across the office.
Yeah, that's a cool case. And if we just like look on the last question and try to combine them. So in this case, if they have MCP and can connect to your feed tracker and bring the data from your regular life, so it can help to see the full picture, not just from conversation, but other data from other stuff. So yeah, I guess it's cool case, not just for clinic, but maybe for any sales team too. Super. We can finish the call because I asked it like you all the 6 questions from Sam. And the last question maybe I just ask you later because we don't have time. But we'll talk about a lot of things around. Thank you, Arnold, for your knowledge, for your experience, for your suggestions. It's hard topic, but I tried to build this conversation much easier and just talk about step-by-step problems. And hope to talk with you soon. And thank you everyone to join
Um,
us today.
yeah, thank you everybody. And just FYI for everybody that's still listening, if you're going to be in the San Francisco area, please, reach out. This is going to be week of June 1st. I'm going to be out there with the OpenClaw team, Microsoft team, and others for the Microsoft Build Conference. I would love to meet you if you're going to be in the area. The Discord, please join if you have questions. I'm typically there. Brad is there. He's the CEO of his own company, Digital Meld. And of course, Val is available to answer any questions. Add me on LinkedIn. happy to answer questions. I'm always available to anybody looking for answers. So, but it was a pleasure being here. Appreciate the invitation, Val and Lucy. Thank you
Sure.
so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
everybody. Bye bye.